Warning, this podcast contains spoilers. Warning, this podcast contains spoilers.
Let's go watch it in 2D. No, let's go watch it in 3D. But if we watch it in 3D, then is it worth the cost?
Is this heaven?
No, it's the great before. This is where new souls get their personalities, quirks, and interests before they go to Earth.
Meet 22.
I don't want to go to Earth.
Stop fighting this.
I don't want to. Okay, look, I already know everything about Earth, and I don't want anything to do with it.
You're missing out on the joys of life, like pizza. I can't smell. We can't taste either?
All that stuff is in your body.
Wow. It's my life.
Is all this living really worth dying for?
Life is full of possibilities. You just need to know where to look. Get ready. Your life is about to start. Soul.
Hello. This is Adolf, and I have with me Classic Jake.
Howdy, folks.
And today we're going to do a spoiler cast for Pixar's Soul. Now, first, before we get into the spoilers, we'll just get some overall thoughts. Classic Jake, what are your thoughts on Pixar's Soul?
This is easily the best movie I've seen this year.
Okay. Why is that?
It's just so emotional. It's so well crafted. I mean, it's pitch perfect. The music is gorgeous. The character designs are gorgeous. The story is moving. They take old tropes and they breathe new life into them. Not a moment in this movie is wasted. This is almost pitch perfect. I don't know. This is easily the best movie this year. I don't know if this is the best movie Pixar's ever made, but damn, it is a really good one.
And now, neither one of us watched it in 3D. I'm assuming you didn't watch it in 3D, right?
No, I just saw it on Disney Plus like most everybody else.
Now, I don't think the 3D would have helped it that much. What do you think?
I want to see this in 3D so bad. Because I was just looking at the Terrys and I was like going, I got to see these beings in 3D. I've just got to see this in 3D.
I mean, they're inherently a flat kind of drawing creature thing, so I don't know how much 3D they have.
Oh, I think they would have quite a bit. I mean, I've always loved the art style. I just think they would look amazing.
Now, the movie has a lot of darkly lit scenes, and a lot of scenes that are very stylized, that I don't know if they would work in 3D. I think the sections where the characters are in the living world could look good. There's one scene specifically with a little, I don't know what kind of tree this is, but like a leaf that has a little helicopter flies down. That could look great in 3D.
I think it would look at least as good as in an is it Inside Out?
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the 3D in Inside Out. I love that movie, but I just
I thought the 3D was fine. I mean, it's kind of hard to not have something pop against black and brightly colored.
All right, so the basic story here is a guy named Joe, we don't get a last name, at least I don't think so, is a music teacher, and he wants to get a gig, and unfortunately he passes on, and he comes with the character of 22, which they say she, but I don't know if pronouns really work for something that's not alive.
We can, if we have to play the pronoun game with these characters, maybe we should just refer to them as they.
Okay, so number 22, I guess, is never been born, and so Joe has to help out, and antics kind of go. Now, before we get into spoilers, one thing I mentioned in my review is that I didn't think this movie was particularly funny. Like, it did have its moments, but overall, I thought it was much more dramatic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the humor was, they didn't set up jokes. The humor was just the reactions of the situation, how people would react to a situation.
And I feel like I was really worried about 22 in the trailers because it kind of seemed super annoying, but I felt like in the movie itself, this character is pretty fantastic. Interesting character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've actually known quite a few people like 22. They just kind of never seem to quite live. They just follow their various muses, never really get a spark.
Okay. So, what score would you give this movie? You've already had high praise.
Oh, 10, easy.
Okay. I will top you. I give it Editor's Choice 10. I adore this movie.
I wasn't going to give it an Editor's Choice because I had been denied the 3D I was promised.
Well, you shouldn't be punishing it for that, but still, I really thought it was an inspired movie. Without getting to spoilers yet, it's truly something special. I feel like whoever the screenplay writer was, I guess maybe they were on drugs, and they had the good stuff because they had some really good ideas. And in some ways, they kind of respected many different religions, but didn't lean on one or another. And it's very philosophical and very heavy, but overall, I loved it. So let's get into the spoilers now.
Warning, this podcast contains spoilers. Warning, this podcast contains spoilers.
Getting into the spoilers, Jake, what are your thoughts of the movie with spoilers?
Okay. Well, Joe is obviously so obsessed with jazz. He doesn't talk about anything but jazz with his friends. When he's walking on the street, it's a miracle he didn't die before his death, because this man was never paying attention to anything outside of himself.
Yeah, and this is the first animated movie from Pixar starring a 3D animated movie from Pixar Disney starring an African American, and I think they handled this perfectly. I'm not African American, so I can't really say on that experience, but I really feel like he's just a black character that's the main. He's not, you know what I'm saying? That they're trying to, they embrace blackness, but they're not in your face about it, kind of thing.
Well, this movie, Jamie Foxx knocked it out of the park, and this, my thought on it is, he just happens to be a person of color.
Yeah.
If he was a white man, I think his performance would have been equally as great. It was him that made it great, not his race. This is just a great movie. It really shows that Pixar's in great hands post John Lasseter.
Yeah, and I really feel like you have to get really to this place where it's not about being in your face, about being one ethnicity or whatever. It's how it is, and it's just so well written, you don't care, and it's so well done. You start off with him you start off with the out-of-tune Disney intro, which I'm a little bit surprised they allowed that. I understand the joke, but it's also in some ways disrespectful.
Oh man, I had PTSD because I used to have lunch hour during band practice. So I was starting to eat something while watching this, and I couldn't eat because when I heard that band, it just brought back such bad memories of school, of having to eat lunch through beginning band practice.
Oh, you're into instruments and your musical talents?
No, I was in the lunchroom when beginning band practiced, and the stage was right next. I was just a music fan. I wasn't a musician. I just did a
Okay.
But yeah, the band room was right next to the lunchroom, and it was, and my school was one of those. The building, they had these modular curtains instead of regular walls, so there was no soundproofing whatsoever.
And the principal offers him a full-time position, and he's not too excited about this, which is kind of weird now. You would think now, I guess 2020 has kind of jaded me, but, if you're in a part-time position wanting full-time, you're going to be jumping for joy. And
Yeah, because that means healthcare.
And, his mom saying, hey, you got to get your dreams out of your head out of the clouds, was actually pretty decent. Like, that could be a very good cliche, but how it was handled in this movie, beautiful, perfect. Like, I don't have nothing negative toward the mom in this situation because she has many valid points.
Yeah, the people here act like adults. Sure, some of them are selfish and short-sighted, but the people here act like people who care about one another. Yeah, this is a really cool movie. They don't set up even the guy they set up as the antagonist, or gal, because they're a non-binary character, really, Terry. And Terry is just doing their job.
Yeah. Now, what you said about adults, I said this a little bit in my spoiler-free review. I feel like this is a movie that the older you are, the more you could appreciate it. I do worry that little ones, small children, may get bored, but like the moms and dads would be like, oh my god, this is like so resonating.
Mm-hmm.
Because just like you said, it has fully realized characters. Like they don't feel like stereotypes. They feel like just really 3D characters, and you get to know them and really feel for them and like them, and it just feels like they're hitting all cylinders here with all these characters and how this flowed.
Mm-hmm. And of course, it's loaded with lots of references that most people under 60 are going to have trouble with. But that's typical for a lot of Pixar movies. They're really in love with the 50s and 60s.
And, Joe gets a call back that, they want him to perform. And he goes out, and he's super excited. And he then, because he's not, paying attention, dies. Which is not a grucious or horrible death. It just falls
And through a manhole because he's not paying attention, which he's never done. I mean, he's always been that focus, and it caught up with him.
And they actually made it playful before that, and like you're kind of thinking, okay, he has a lot of opportunities where he could have died before that, but it was gonna happen, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was almost. This was like the Disney version of Final Destination.
Yeah. And he's on this like conveyor belt kind of escalator in blackness, and it's going
to the great beyond.
And he's not excited about this, and he talks to other characters, other souls, I suppose. I mean, I don't have a better word for that.
Yeah.
That have passed on, and many of them are fine. And like you see them get absorbed into the great beyond, and like it does seem a little bit scary, kind of like a bug going into a zapper.
Yeah, zap.
But
yeah, it's like they're giving their spark back.
You don't really know what happens, and the movie never tells you, which I think is actually really clever of a way of doing that. That he doesn't. I think the movie has a lot of rules, and it tells you enough of the rules to make you really enjoy the movie and love it, but it doesn't feel like they reveal everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you also get to see that the rules are kind of loosey-goosey, too, because the Terrys sure figure out ways around things to do what they think needs to be done, but yet keep everything running smoothly.
And Joe is so preoccupied about being a soul, or not, of being part of this musical thing that he's dreamed about for a long time. He doesn't care about being in the afterlife. He wants to go back to Earth, and he manages to escape and then go to the universe of the unliving, which is the preborn.
And he snatches a badge and gets mistaken for a child psychologist, whom the Terrys are just sure that finally this person can find 22's spark. I mean, they're on billions and billions of souls, and number 22 is still in the before. Hasn't found their spark yet.
Now, at first, they do say that personalities are based on what happens here, and then eventually they say, well, not really. Because I was kind of like upfront about that. I was like, no, I think personality is based on your experiences on Earth. And, just because you're born a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that's how it's going to be. I took offense to a little bit, but then eventually when they kind of caved and like, oh, well, I explained it the way you guys can understand, but it really isn't that way.
But I really thought it was funny when one Terry told the other, you shouldn't send so many of them into that anxiety building.
Yes. And like how they are just playful with these pre-born souls, and how like, oh, you can't get crushed and you can't die. That's what life is for. And just like,
that's what life's for, is to crush your soul.
I mean, you just felt like, damn, if that didn't ring 2020, it's bell, I don't know what the hell it would.
Yeah, that was like that just summed up 2020. Soul crushing.
So Joe is now in charge of helping 22 get its spark, which would mean that it finds out what it wants to be, so that way it can feel comfortable going to Earth to live a life that will eventually lead, obviously, to death, which will eventually lead to the great beyond, which is the afterlife. So there's these characters named Terry, which are like very basic looking figures, like basically squiggly lines as characters. I actually really appreciate that they didn't go and make actually 3D models. They just like, you know what? Let's keep it surreal. Who cares?
Yeah, they're basically streamlined. They're what the bare minimum of what they need to manifest, which makes sense for beings that are billions and billions and billions of years old.
And they, help give some different traits to the individual souls that have not been born, and that they help get along. And eventually you learn that Joe is kind of not really caring about 22 for a decent amount of this movie, but eventually does come around.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I guess we should talk about one scene that really gutted me. 22 has got this box that they hide in, and on the wall they have the name tags of their mentors. And I recommend pausing that scene and going through reading them. I mean, some of 22's mentors through the ages. You met some of them in the movie, like Abraham Lincoln. The joke about Andrew Jackson being on the 20 was hysterical. Muhammad Ali. But then you see name tags like Grace O'Malley, the famous Queen of the Pirates. Jack Kirby was one of 22's mentors. And Joe Raftnik. I can't pronounce his name. He's the Pixar guy who died in the one car accident in 2006. Real tragic. And it just seeing his name on that wall.
Yeah, here's a little list on here. A different website has put it on. I'll put some of them here. Jane Austen, Amelia Earhart, Joan of Arc, Albert Einstein, Aretha Franklin, Marvin Gaye, Johnny Cash, just to name a few.
Mm-hmm.
lot of famous names
Yeah,
there.
and I wonder how many of them throttled 22.
Um, and it's kind of interesting if you think about it, like numbers wise, they go into high numbers. So like, is 22 like really like the 22nd
Yep,
life? That
yep. 22's been there billions and billions of years learning, because when 22 engages in a conversation with a person, 22 is really knowledgeable and can talk about a lot of things, because the barbershop scene is amazing, and Joe finds out more about his friends from 22 talking to them as him. Oh yeah, they the shenanigans, they get to Earth, but 22 winds up in Joe's body, and Joe winds up in a cat.
and that's part of the funness of this movie. I think they really go well with the premise, and that 22 gets to actually have experience in a living body, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a goofy kind of thing, but it works, and it doesn't seem too out there. And Joe's like, oh, if we meet up with this other character, we're gonna be able to switch bodies, which this other character is what is the name of that character? That was like Moonwind, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, selling around in the Lisa Frank hippie pirate ship.
Yeah, and that they're going in a pirate ship in the astral plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, listening to Bob Dylan.
And that apparently when you're in the zone, um, you could actually be in a mystical part of the afterlife, which
Mm-hmm.
I think is something that a lot of artists have said, that artists in general term, not just art, but like musicians and writers, when you're in the zone, you could get in the zone and just transcribe beyond earthly remains, and it's something and how they showed it in the movie, brilliant.
And we got to find out why the Knicks suck, because 22 keeps messing with them when they're in the zone.
Yeah, so that's one thing that's fun, that they could mess with things and play with things, and um, so they come back to Earth, as like you said, and they're planning to go back. Moonwind was trying to go back, and they want to, if they go back to Moonwind, then they could switch bodies again, and everything's back to normal. And you have the Terrys, which are the creatures that are there, but you also have the other character. What is it? I forget this. I have the IMDb up here, but it's kind of weird. This other creature that was like the counter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought he was a Terry too.
Was he a Terry?
Yeah, I thought he was a Terry.
Anyway, he's trying to find out because there's lost count, and there's one missing from going to the great beyond, and we don't really know in this universe if the great beyond is heaven or hell, or something else entirely. There is no mention of what heaven and hell is, or if that even exists. It just is something else. And so this really doesn't, like, the going into the light has been something that a lot of people have mentioned about near death experiences. That has been almost universally said. Now, pre life is something that I don't think many philosophies, many religions have talked about really to a great extent, but I'm not 100% sure.
Some do. I mean, Buddhism, the reincarnation. Islam talks about the quickening, and then some Christianity believe. There's some people that believe life begins at conception, and there's others that believe you're when before you're born, before a baby's born, a soul enters their body, usually a soul of somebody deceased, because they believe that you go life after life after life till you reach nirvana.
And we're not trying to disrespect anyone here. We're just trying to make sense of this movie. And the way this movie is kind of showing things is not really a way that I recognize as exactly as one religion, but in some ways taking pieces and parts of all the different of things I've mentioned about spirituality and kind of combining them to make its own unique thing, right?
Yeah, it creates its own universe and sets its own rules and operates within them.
I did like how there was a scene which in the trailers it seemed more goofy than it was, but when they mentioned that their souls don't have physical attributes, so they can't eat, they can't feel pain, and I always wondered about that because people are like, oh, whenever I'm dead and I'll be in heaven, I'll be eating pizza, and it's like, why would you want to eat pizza if you're not alive? That's something of the flesh. That's something I've always kind of thought about, and it's like, no, man, why would that's part of being flesh. If you're dead, you're beyond the flesh. But that's just my own preference thing.
Yeah, it's Pixar's obsession with pizza rears its head in this movie.
And so Joe wants to still perform and switch bodies back, and he's a cat, and everyone else sees a cat meowing and screaming, and 22 understands it, but 22 is a human and being a human for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Joe mistakes the spark. See, Joe thinks the spark is your obsession. That's because Joe is obsessed. That Joe is about one step from becoming a lost soul himself, I think, from the way he's going. But he eventually realizes he's told that the spark is you wanting to live and wanting to become part of human society and, be part of the human race.
Yeah, that's one thing that really kind of transcended, I feel like, a story where you're at first thinking, oh, what is your passion? He wants to play sports, or do you want to be a musician, or do you want to be this or that? And they kind of like, you're thinking too basic, man.
Yeah, basically this movie is you are not your passion. It's just a part of who you are. Like I keep telling people, especially Star Wars fans, you are not your hobby. It's just your interest, your passion. It's your interest. You're more than that. People don't give themselves enough credit. They're a lot more than they think they are.
And you see 22 struggle being human and getting hungry and trying to walk, and they eventually, it's like, oh, I gotta get a haircut, you gotta go to the barbershop to look good, and I gotta get a new suit, and yeah, they're able to have some really good conversations, and like he has a conversation with his mom that was just like, oh, that's beautiful. Whoever wrote that really knows how to write a good mom scene.
Yeah.
And like you said before, the barbershop scene where, she's like, oh, I got to get, I'm doing this big gig. I got to look sharp. And they were going to, try to shave before, but they got into a mishap because they can't really, shave. And that scene was just like, holy crap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the barber, saves another mishap. Yeah, the hair emergency. Yeah, anybody's ever been to a barber with a hair emergency will relate to that scene.
And how they're able to talk about stuff that is like so beyond everything and have these philosophy-driven, deep moments that almost everyone in the barbershop was like on each word of 22 and it was just like ready to cry. And it's like, holy crap, you are just so immersed into this super way of thinking. Love it. Love that scene.
Yeah, 22's had billions of years to get ready for life.
And eventually, I just needed the spark and someone to do it.
Exactly.
And eventually, 22, they do switch, and there is this fun part where the creature that was a counter does like get someone, but like they get the wrong guy, and he's like traumatized, and it's like, yeah, I think I would be traumatized too.
Yeah, and he's like realized they realize they've messed up, and they're like, nothing happened here. You didn't see a thing, and this person is wrecked. Yeah.
And 22 starts to realize the joys of living and wants to live and doesn't want to go back.
And doesn't want to give Joe back his body.
But they do, and then Joe gets to play and is amazing jazz. It is just like, holy crap, this is awesome. Like,
Yeah, the music in this movie is top notch.
And but Joe isn't happy, and it doesn't fulfill him like he thinks it should. And the main woman that's part of this jazz group is like, well, you got to be in the moment, and you're not in the moment here. And it was just one of those really awesome things that what happens to you after you do realize your dream. Is that really going to make you happy or not? Because guess what? Maybe a lot of times it's not.
That's not what you've got your dream, but that's not what was fulfilling you quietly. And he didn't notice what was really fulfilling him. I mean, he's a natural mentor.
And he does go back to the afterlife, or in between life, and 22 becomes a lost soul. And that scene where 22 has just been destroyed by anxiety, and oh my god.
Yeah, Joe just pushes 22 over the edge with his selfishness, and 22's selfishness just boom. And to get because Joe is just at that moment is so determined to fulfill his dream of playing with a jazz outfit, and just his idea of success, and it just wrecks, and 22 is just totally wrecked and becomes a lost soul. And of course Joe's the only one who can bring 22 back from the abyss.
And how they visualize being a lost soul of like being consumed in darkness and blackness, and these like demons and monsters telling you you're not good enough. Wow, that hit hard for me, at least.
Yeah, anybody who's ever suffered anxiety, hang on. It's you're gonna have PTSD flashbacks.
I mean, anxiety, depression, the double curse of that is like they just go right into that and really get in there. And those demons, unfortunately, I don't think you can really conquer those demons. They're always going to come up eventually. But
exactly.
But seeing those demons representation, that was horribly terrifying. Horribly terrifying. And I've seen that before, and I recognize that as true, and I was like, holy crap. They somehow got that perfectly. I don't know about you.
Oh, and I hope the people who don't suffer from these ailments see this, and maybe they'll understand why it's so hard to deal with it, and why so many people it does conquer them.
Yeah, it was just like the perfect audio visual scene there with these black creatures consuming and stopping you from living, and it's metaphorical and literal, and it just completely was a beautiful, wonderful, horrible thing to see, because it was very much real to life, and how they conquered it is just beautiful, and how that 22 was able to get through it, and Joe was able to help. It was just beautiful.
And Joe surrenders the world pass that 22's spark and gives it back to 22, so 22 can finally go live their life. And Joe jumps with 22, knowing full well that he will be called back before they get to Earth. But he was going to make sure 22 didn't make the jump alone, and went with 22 as far as he could. And of course, we don't see 22's final end journey, but it doesn't really matter because we know 22 is ready because Joe made sure they were ready.
Yeah, and that scene was absolutely stunningly beautiful.
Mm-hmm. And then the Terrys decide to give 22, give Joe back his life because, well, his body's still there, and they were so moved and touched by his sacrifice and everything he did. He did what not even the great Jack Kirby could do, is find 22's spark.
And Joe comes back and is re-energized and is not like, you kind of want to see them reunite, but it's okay. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah, whatever happens next with Joe, that Joe's going to live his life to the fullest. Maybe he decides he's going to be a full-time teacher and only play with Dorothea Williams when she's in town. Or maybe he stays a part-time teacher and tours. And then when the touring season's over, teaches. We don't know. And all we do know is whatever Joe decides, Joe's going to live his life to the fullest.
And there's just so many scenes here that are just beautiful, and how it's the dialogue and how it expresses itself, and the animation is top notch. This is you said it, and I agree. This is top tier Pixar. I think this is one of the best Pixar movies in a long time.
Yeah, yeah. Pete Docter knocked this out of the park, but Pete Docter always knocks it out of the park.
I mean, it kind of seems like, well, Onward was really good. I feel like, this was just perfect. And Coco was great. Inside Out was great. This is top tier Pixar, and this is why Pixar is great. And I legitimately cried, and I warned you, Jake, before you watched it. It's gonna get you. It's gonna make you cry at a molecular level. Do you agree?
Yeah, I'm glad you prepared me because I think I would have bawled like a baby if I wasn't ready. I still teared up. So I was glad I was alone watching this.
I mean, if you do have loved ones that you can share this with, it might be good to have that. I asked my wife when we watched it together on Christmas morning, and she was like, I really liked it a lot. The only problem I have with it is I wasn't fully paying attention because I was playing the game, but that's my own fault. That's not the movie's fault. Movie's fan. And it's like, yeah, this is the kind of movie you want to watch multiple times anyway, because the rules, it goes by so fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this movie moves really, really fast.
In a perfect way. Like, I don't feel like there's any fat to this movie or anything negative. I mean, is this like really a kid's movie? Because this feels like an animated adult movie, like adult in theme, and I really worry that the kids are gonna be like, this is the most boring Pixar movie. I don't get the hype, and people will watch it and be like, oh,
Yeah, if you're looking for a movie like Onward, keep looking. This isn't it.
Yeah, this isn't when people say, oh, you cartoons are for kids, no. I mean, this is, for me, the same kind of level of like Inside Out, where it just goes to another level of being, okay, Coco made me cry, it had a very sad song, beautiful story, love Coco, don't get me wrong. But
it's really good. Don't knock it, man.
Not knocking it.
I would put Coco on this level. Yeah. I mean, I like it a little more, but I would still put Coco as top tier Pixar.
Yeah, and I just feel like Soul is something really special. I'm not going to compare the movies, really. I mean, I kind of did, but to be fair, I feel like this really got down to a upper level of crying, of emotion, because it goes to a deeper level of sentimentality, a deeper level of spirituality, of psychology, of anthropology. This is college level stuff. I think.
Yeah, this is a great movie. You definitely inspire a lot of conversations about a lot of stuff, which is good.
Like, this could be something that you watch on a college level class on spirituality, or college level class on ethics or something.
I know. But we have to talk about the 800-pound gorilla in the room. The basic gist of this movie is live your life. Problem is, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. So you can live your life. It's just going to be in your living room or your bedroom for a while.
Yeah. I mean, I was okay with this movie being delayed to 2021 before I watched it. And this is something that is so perfect for the year. It's mind-boggling how this came out now, on Christmas Day. And it's like hits you so hard, and it's so perfect for today, I feel like.
Yeah, other than running around and yeah, if you got to live your life right now, I would do it in a mask and wash your hands.
Yeah, be careful, but still, I think 2020 has really pushed a lot of people to reconsider what of life is worth living and what of life is hard.
Yeah.
And, are we going to go back to the old normal, or?
Oh, the old normal's dead. Let's take advantage of this situation and make a better normal. One that actually works for us. One that doesn't frustrate us. Like, do we need to commute 50 miles to work? Can't we telecommute now? So why do we need to go rush into big cities, live in the suburbs, pollute the air, spend a fortune in gas, drink 3 Starbucks a day to get us through work, go eat at overpriced fast casual restaurant, spend the rest of your lunch hour on the toilet, dealing with the aftermath of your meal. Then you go back to work. Then you finish work, and then you commute back. We've discovered there's a better way through this pandemic. So hopefully we do it and don't try to go back to the way things were when everybody, because I think most of us were really unhappy.
And this movie really has a good kind of mentality of trying to see what the real factor of life is. And, reevaluating life in 2020 I think is a big thing. A lot of people are suffering. A lot of people have died. And it's it should break your heart. Mm-hmm. And it should.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, in the United States, 1 out of 1,000 Americans has died from COVID.
And even if
that's horrible.
If you haven't died, it does put you through the ringer. There's a lot of people that suffered.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are in hospitals, and maybe they do survive. Guess what? That experience changes them. And some people have changed. Like, they don't have sense of smell and taste, and it's not the same. They have some lingering medical issues. And 2020 is going to make people reevaluate their lives. And Soul is like perfect of a movie to come out now in some ways.
Yeah, it's a kind of a match under people's butts.
It's the movie I needed in 2020.
Yeah,
it's just the perfect way to end this year, and
it's going to save. I think it's going to calm a lot of people. Yeah, I highly recommend this movie. It'll calm you the hell down. It shows you there's other ways of doing things. You don't have to be unhappy, and you don't have to be obsessed to be happy.
I mean, this is top level Pixar, and this is awesome filmmaking, and it feels like, okay, this is just a movie that just so happened to be animated. Like, they couldn't really do this without animation, so they really played it up. But this movie feels inspired. This easily the 2020 movie of the year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, the best movie I've seen this year.
So it's hard to compare what other movies came out this year. I mean, is it better than Wonder Woman Night?
I mean, there's been some good movies come out this year. First Cow and Possessor and The Invisible Man And heck, I would even say Unhinged is really good. But I mean, this is just on a whole other level. I mean, this is like, wow. I mean, some of the ones I mentioned too are really, really, really good too. Yeah, this just was a different year. Things went mostly to streaming. I really hope I get a chance to see this in 3D on a big screen. I really do, because this movie deserves to be seen that way. But see it any way you can. Heck, you'd get something out of it watching it on your phone.
Great story, great story transcends anything. You don't have to have a theater to enjoy this.
Mhm. It's got great music. It's got great character designs. It's tip top animation. I mean,
It's soulful movie, literally, and it's entertaining and fascinating. And it's not a comedy. You're not going to be laughing your ass off here, but it's something that it's going to just get you to the core of who you are in life. And I mean, I can't underestimate how much I enjoyed this movie and love this movie and recommend this movie, and I want to see this again. And it's kind of one of those things where, like, I want to see this again and again and again. I want to be like a little kid watching it and getting more out of it, because this is something special. And this is the movie that I needed and wanted to see in 2020, and hopefully you get a chance to see it. If you can't, try, if you get $10 and get Disney Plus for a month and enjoy this, because this is a treat.
mm-hmm. Or if you got AT&T, you probably have access to HBO Max.
Well, HBO Max and AT&T are not the same as this.
Might want to cut all that. I just had a brain fart. I don't know where you can get Disney Plus for free, but I do know they do offer a bundle with Disney Plus, ESPN, and Hulu at a reduced rate. So that might be a way to go.
I mean, ESPN Plus is kind of a waste right now. But, yeah.
Yeah, I have no interest in sports. Yeah, I know.
I have a limited interest in sports, and I haven't really enjoyed ESPN Plus, but that's neither here or there. So
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. See it.
It definitely.
It may change your life.
I mean, it's a movie that you're like, damn, what kind of cruel bastard doesn't give this a 10?
This is a movie. It's going to do more than past 2 hours of your time. It's going to give you something to think about.
Yeah, something to chew about mentally. Something to watch with your kids and really get them to think about things. And if you have kids, or something to watch with your spouse, or even if you watch it by yourself, still, if you can watch it with loved ones, I recommend it, because it makes a good conversation.
And ironically, it's a good escape from the complete chaos and drama that our news media is just constantly reporting on. So ironically, this philosophical treat is a perfect antidote for the news. A great escape, ironically, even though it's substantive.
I was really worried. I think I mentioned this several times before, that I was worried about a movie with a black man dying, and this year with the Black Lives Matter, if that would be something that's hard to watch, and it wasn't. It's
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had no problem. Yeah, that didn't even dawn on me until you said it.
I feel like this, if anything, it makes it more impactful. And this one resonates, and this one hits your soul very well. Maybe, and it's something that if it doesn't hit your soul now, maybe watch it in a couple years. Maybe when you're, it just depends on your life experience. But I really feel like this movie is something truly unique, and Disney hit it out of the park. And this is a spectacular, exceptional movie. And yeah, I want to watch it again right now.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably watch it again when I finish the second season of The Mandalorian.
All right. With that, we'll be out of here. Thank you for listening. Be safe out there. Take care. It's difficult. I know.
Yeah, wash your hands. Wear your mask. Yeah, stay safe.
And yeah, stay safe. You never know how COVID will hit you. People were like,
Yeah.
some people will be asymptomatic and not have any symptoms and just pass it along. Sometimes it'll hit you really hard and you don't know. And you may survive, but it may hit you. You may be left with a $20,000 debt at the hospital or something. If you're in America. But it's be safe. Be safe. And yeah, that's it for us. Bye.
Bye.
Before this podcast wraps up, I want to thank my patrons. Thank you, Kano3D, Mr. Bengal 5, and Kevin Winter for your financial support on Patreon.com. So that's going to be it for this podcast. Thanks for listening. You can find 3D or 2D on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, and more. Just look for 3D or 2D. Links are in the info box. If you want to send us listener mail, our email address is email3dortwo@gmail.com. Thank you for either listening or watching this podcast. Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Bye, everyone.